Good afternoon, class. So I hope everyone has been listening and following expectations. So today I am giving you a video to go over the scientific method, and while we are using that method, we're going to conduct an experiment on how to go through that process. So I'm making this video so it is easy for you guys to follow. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask your substitute, and she can help you through. Whenever you do begin your experiment, you will be given a piece of paper that looks like this. It is what you are going to track all of your experiment on, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to first start by talking about what even is the scientific method. So it is a process, and you go through these 5 simple steps, and they also are listed out on your worksheet. Okay, so the first one is you're going to ask a question. So this is basically, what do you want to know from the experiment? Okay, this may be given to you already, or you may have to kind of come up with it on your own. Then the next step is going to be a hypothesis. So this is kind of like what you think might happen from the experiment, and this can just be something you don't even know. Like, you probably won't know the outcome, and you're just making a guess. Okay? And then once you do that, you're going to perform the experiment. Okay? So you're going to actually do the procedure and everything that goes along with the experiment, and you're going to test it to see if your hypothesis was correct or not. Okay? And then while you're doing the experiment, you're going to observe. So you're going to watch, and you're going to write down what you see, maybe what your data is, and all of those things. Okay? And then finally is the conclusion. So you're probably going to have to either write a little bit or discuss with maybe a partner on what you learned from the experiment. Okay, so now that we've kind of gave a little bit of a rundown, we're going to go through this penny lab, and we're going to start off by asking the question of what we're trying to figure out. So the question for this lab is, how many drops of water will fit on a singular penny? Now this might be really small, but it is just a regular penny. We're going to see how many drops can fit on it. So with that question being asked, go to your lab sheet, and we're going to discuss, see it says at the top here, okay? We're going to talk about what a hypothesis could be for this experiment. So what's something that you think could happen with this experiment? Mine is, I'm going to probably say, I think I gave an example on here. So what do you think will happen is, I think maybe the penny could hold 10 drops of water. So I'm going to write that on the line. You want to make sure you're pretty specific too, to where if there's any confusion, that it is not being mistaken. Okay? Once you have it written on your sheet where it says hypothesis, just like I did, you are going to come up with your own hypothesis. Okay? So that could be, I think it could hold maybe 20 drops of water. I think it might only be able to hold like 5. You can be as specific as you want, and we're going to test and see if what you stated is correct or not by conducting the experiment. Okay? So once you have that written, we're going to move on to the next step, which is collecting all of our materials. So I have listed here the materials that you will need. They're also listed on your worksheet. And so you'll need a plate, a penny, a little eyedropper. I have this one here, and then just a cup of water. Okay, now don't, make sure you're not making a mess on the tables or anything because you don't really have anything right now to clean it up. Okay, so we're going to go through the procedure. So we're going to set our penny. I'll put my camera down so you guys can see it. There we go. So we're going to set our penny on the center of our plate. Okay? Next, we're going to use our eyedropper to add 1 drop of water at a time onto our penny. Okay, so watch me. We're going to collect our water through our eyedropper. Okay? And you want to make sure that it only drops 1 drop at a time. And we're going to count how many drops the penny can hold before it spills over the edge. So we're going to count each drop. Okay, 1, 2, 13. Okay, so 13, and then it started to spill over the edge. So, we're going to go back to our sheet, and you see where it says test 1, we're going to write 13, or however many you got. Okay, and we're going to complete this again. Okay, just kind of knock it off, and then set it in a different spot on your plate, and you're going to do the same thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one was only 6. Then it started spilling. You can kind of see it. So we're going to count 6. Okay. I'm going to dry it off with my shirt. That way there's no extra water on the penny. Okay. Make sure it's flat too. Okay. Last test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and it started spilling. Okay, so now you're going to do that, and that was our last test. So we're done with our penny now, and we're going to go back to our sheet. Okay. Oops, it was a little wet. It's okay. So on your sheet, there's an observation. You're going to just kind of draw a little picture on what you thought or what you saw. So what I saw was just kind of like a little dome of water, and that was all water. Label it, you can do whatever you want. Okay? Next we're going to do a little bit of math. So we need to find the average of our results. So it does tell you below how to find the average, but I'm going to go ahead and do that with you. You can use a calculator. So I'm just going to use my phone real quick, and basically what you do is you add the number of drops from each test. So it's 13 plus 6 plus 17, and it wants us to write this below. So I'm going to write that down below in our calculations. So that equals 36. Okay. Now that we have that, we're now going to divide that by however many number of tests you did. We did 3. So it's going to be 36 divided by 3. Okay? And that's 12. So, that means the average amount of drops per test was 12 drops. And we're just going to write that in the last box. Okay? So now that we have conducted our experiment, there we did the experiment, and we recorded our data. So we recorded the number of drops on our worksheet, and we also repeated it 3 times. Now is the conclusion of our experiment, okay? So it's what did you learn, okay? You can write, there's really nowhere for you to write this. Maybe you want to just discuss it with your shoulder partner or whoever you're working with in your group. For an example, I just put the penny held more water than I thought it would. My hypothesis was incorrect. So my hypothesis was that it can hold 10 drops of water. Well, it held more drops. Our average was 12, so it could hold more drops. So my hypothesis was incorrect. But you need to base that conclusion off what your hypothesis was. So if it did hold the right amount of water, as you said in your hypothesis, then you were correct. Okay, so I want you to discuss that with your partner. Okay? And then once you are finished, I want you to go ahead and clean up all of your materials, put it all black where it's all supposed to go, and we will see you guys next time for our next science experiment. Okay, so my reflection for this lesson, what went well, I honestly really liked that I was able to have basically the whole scientific method laid out on a worksheet, and I was able to go through that with my students. I feel like it's very easy to follow. It might be kind of jumbled up on the worksheet, I might organize it differently, but I like that every part of the scientific method was on here and we could talk about it and go through it together. What didn't go as planned, I kind of messed up on test 2 where I didn't really dry off the penny after I did the first experiment, so it didn't hold as much water because I think there was just some leftover water on the penny that kind of spilled off. I don't really think it was overflowing with water, so that didn't go as well. So our results were probably not the best. Something that I would probably change for next time, maybe prepare like a whole class like anchor chart where we can display all of our results, or maybe try and do the part 2 to this worksheet where it talks about having like a controlled variable and having the students say change maybe the coin or the type of water that they use to see kind of what other results they might get. I feel like that could also be interesting to try. I just wanted to stick to the main part of the scientific method for this lesson, but I would also like to implement part 2 or the other part with the control variables if I were to maybe do this in my classroom to lay out the different options. So, yeah.